And let's start. Okay, so we're dealing with Sanhedrin, and we were dealing with different issues of something that acquires its space, right? Like a mace mitzvah acquires the space that it's in, and we were talking about Tashmisha Kedusha. So we're coming now today. There was a right that we mentioned before that said, Itmar was stated, Ha'orig beged lamet. If a person is weaving shrouds for a corpse. So let's say I didn't actually yet put the shroud on the corpse yet. Can I use those shrouds for someone else or for something else? Well, once I already designated it, does it become just for that person? I can't use it for anything else. If I Omer Aser, you cannot use it for anything else. It has already become forbidden. Rava says mutar. You're weaving it. You didn't actually use it yet. It does not become asur. Abai Omer Aser. Why is Abai say that something that you're preparing for the dead, even though you didn't yet put it on the dead, it's considered asur because he holds hazmona miltahi. He holds designation, designated something for something. It's already something important. Miltahi. It's an actual thing. Rabbi says mutar. Hazmana, designation, lav miltahu. It's not a thing. So the machloket here is, I have something, let's say, and I'm designating this for the dead. Right? That's the question. So this is a shroud. That's the question we're dealing with. This is a shroud. So I'm designating it for the dead. This is going to be for the dead that's in that next room. But I didn't yet put it on to the dead. So is it considered for that dead already? And since it belongs to the dead, it can't be used for anything else? Or Rava says, no, since you didn't actually put it on, you don't have, designation does nothing. The question is, does designating something in it of itself, is that enough to osir it for other things? Or it has to actually be have been used? So now this is not only by a dead body. This is also for other things, stuff like kedusha, for example. A tefillin bag we're going to see. Let's say a person wants to make the tefillin bag for tefillin, and he designates it or he uses it. Does it have to be both? We're going to see in the end it's going to have to be both. You're going to have to designate and use it, and then it's going to be just for tefillin. So this is the machloket right now. When we're saying designating, how much do we have to do to designate something? Is it enough to just say this cup is for the dead, right? Is that enough to make a designation? Or do I have to lift the cup and do some sort of kinyan while I'm doing the designation? It's a machloket rishonim, right? The Ran and others say that just speaking is enough. It's enough for a designation. Whereas Tosafot says, no, that's not enough. You have to actually lift it up and while you're saying it in order to make it a designation. Now, the question is, why? Why? Where are we coming up with this? Why is there machloket if designation is something or not? My tamid Abaya. What is the reason of Abaya? Why does Abaya say that designation is already enough? Gamar sham sham egla rufa. He says, making Gzer Shava from an egla arufa, right? What's the Gzer Shava? So by Miriam, when she dies in the midbar, it says "V'tamot sham Miriam tikavir sham." She dies there and they bury her there. There's the word sham. Then it says by the egla rufa, v'arafu sham is egla v'nachal. They bring the egla rufa down. Ma egla rufa b'hazmona mitasra. Mitasra. When you bring the egla rufa is that you bring that there's a dead body that's found. You're not sure who killed them. You have to make the measurements to which city it comes from, and then you bring this egla rufa there, and you decapitate the calf. It becomes usher to use for anything else once you bring it down to the valley. So my egla rufa b'hazmona mitasra. So once you designate it and you bring it to the valley, even though you didn't decapitate it yet, it becomes usher. So too by burial, because they have the Gzer Shava, Sham Sham, it happens as soon as you designate. Rabbi says, Sham Sham, he says, no. I learned Sham Sham, but Gzer Shava is not. It's not the Gzer Shava about Egla Rufa, but rather Tavodah Zara. And my designation doesn't work. Why? Because we say that a person probably will do tshuva and not actually give the thing he says he's going to give the thing to Avodah Zarah. Most people are going to make tshuva; they're not going to actually give it to Avodah Zarah. So therefore, it's not considered. There's no designation by Avodah Zarah until you actually use it. So too, by the dead, it's not considered belonging to the dead until you actually use it for the dead. Designation does not do it. You learn it from Avodah Zarah. By Avodah Zarah, designation doesn't work. So too, stuff belonging to the dead would not work if it's just designated. Rava, my Rava, why doesn't he learn from Egla Rufa? Why doesn't he learn the Sham from Egla Rufa? So Amrullah, whoever would say to you, like, I'm not gonna say to you, I'm not gonna learn from Egla Rufa. You know why? The we're going to learn from accessories to accessories. We're going to learn La Fuke Egla Rufa, the Gufa Kedusha. Right. Pay attention to the cases. You have three cases: Avodah Zarah, Egla Rufa, and the dead body. So we're talking about shrouds for the dead body, and we're talking about the accessories to Avodah Zarah. I'm going to give this to Avodah Zarah. This is both accessories. So you compare accessories. Where the Egla Rufa, it's not an accessory. In itself is the Kedusha. Therefore, the Egla Rufa becomes the Hazmana because it's not an accessory. Right? That's why you don't compare it to that. We compare it to Avodah Zarah, and Avodah Zarah, Hazmana designation doesn't work, so therefore also for the dead, it won't work to make an accessory to be also to anyone else except for that dead. But by my time, the Gamar, why don't you learn from Avodah Zarah? So I'll tell you why. He said, listen, someone dying, that's the way of life. Avodah Zarah, Egla Rufa, it's also a kosher way of life. Someone ends up dead, it happens, and you do Egla Rufa. Avodah Zarah is an Isser. It's not normal. It's not a normal thing. Therefore, you can't compare it to Avodah Zarah. So each one has their reasoning. Why compare it to Avodah Zarah or Egla Rufa? Do you compare accessory to accessory? Or do you compare Milsa de Archa, a normal thing to another normal thing, or not? So at the end of the day, we have this machlokas Abaye and Rava. Is Hasmana designation, is that sufficient enough? That is the machlokas. Abaye says designation is, Rava said designation is not. So now we're going to have a whole list of questions in the Gemara trying to prove either to Abaye or to Rava or disprove either one. And Simon Kippon Avshay the Chatziba Nechisa de Umana. So it seems to be there are going to be at least 5 cases that we're going to be dealing with that we're going to try to see if we can prove one way or the other. So we'll start off. Meitve. Kipashu Tama Midras. Untana tu Lasefer. Taramina Midras. Alatama Mage Midras. Okay. So here's the story. Tame Midras. Okay, let's say it's a woman. A woman has a remote. Okay, she has a handkerchief, and she becomes Tame. She becomes a Zava. Okay, she becomes a Zava. As a Zava, she they have a special tumah called tumah midras. Midras is anything they lean or sit on gets a special level of tumah, of hatumah, becomes like a father of a tumah, very high level of tumah. So she has a remote. Either she leans her head on the wall, or she takes off the handkerchief and uses it as a cushion to sit on. Okay. Now what happens is this thing, since it's something that's usually leaned on or sitting on, if it's something that's you normally use in the sitting or leaning way, it can contract this tamei midras. So she uses it. It gets tamei midras on it. Now she says, you know what? I want to designate this remote. I want to designate this kerchief to be used on the Sefer Torah. Okay, now a kerchief from the Sefer Torah is not. You're not allowed to lean on it. You're not allowed to sit on it. So they here we bring a Mishnah, and this Mishnah is in Kalayim, and the Mishnah there says if she had a remote that had Tamei Midras, But now she designates it to be the Torah for the Torah to be put on the Torah. Tahar min hamidras. It no longer has Tomei Midras because it's not something you consider lean on anymore. And only something you consider lean on can have Tomei Midras. And since she designated it, it's no longer Tomei min Midras. Although Tomei Magid Midras, but it's still considered Tomei being touched by a Midras, a lower level of Tumah. But what do we see from here? We see the designation is something. Hazmana is something. The guy, she just said, I want to give this to the Sefer Torah. And we said, it's no longer a sitting or leaning item, therefore it doesn't have Tomei Midras in it anymore. So you see, Hazmana is something. This is proof to Abaya. Mara says, you're reading the Mishnah, you're missing a word in the Mishnah. Amon and not Nitana too, Ratu. When it says there that he gave it over, she gave it over, not just in designation it, but rather they wrapped it on the Torah. That's why it went down, because it was used like Rava. It was put and used. It was designated and used. Where it says, once again, Lamani Nitana too, Racha too. Why you have to tell me both? Just tell me that they wrapped it around. Why you tell me they designated it also? Once you know you used it, you used it. Kid Rav Chizda. This is like what Rav Chizda said. This Rav Chizda is halach l'maisa. This is what Rava holds as well. So everything that needs designation, this is the way it works. Kid Rav Chizda. So Rav Chizda, hi sudra the azminin l'meitzer bet tefillin. Someone makes a pouch for wrapping tefillin in it. Okay, so the guy tefillin bag, right? You have a tefillin bag. B'tzar beit tefillin, and he puts tefillin in there. Aser l'meitzar beit pshita. You're not allowed to put coins in it anymore. So if you have a bag, and you say this is going to be my bag for tefillin, then you go ahead and you put your tefillin in it. Then it's asur to put coins inside, right? Tsar baby lo yazmane. If you put it inside, but you didn't say it's going to be for tefillin, you're just using it. Or share they made tsar baby pshite. Okay, asmane v'lo tsar baby. Go back. I missed the line. Asmane v'lo tsar baby. You designated it. This is going to be my tefillin bag, but you never put tefillin in it. Or you put tefillin in it, but you never said it's going to be for tefillin. Share they made tsar baby pshite. You're allowed to put coins inside of it. That's, by the way, the halacha l'maisa. What you can do is, if a person wants to get tefillin bag and he wants to use it for coins, to put sucker coins inside there, he'll have to say that even though it's for my tefillin bag, I'm making a tanai, I'm making a condition that I can use it for tzedakah. But if he didn't say it's going to be for tefillin bag, that's fine also, because you have to do both. You do have mana. This is going to be my tefillin bag, and then you put the tefillin inside it, and then you can't use it for anything else. But if you didn't say it, or you didn't actually put it inside, then you could use it for other things. And that's the way Rava holds, and that's Rav Chizda. That's why the Mishnah said both. But according to Abaya, you wouldn't need both. Well, Abaya, the Amr has money milsi, but according to Abaya, who says designation is enough, as money, if you said this is going to be a tefillin bag, well, God, the Lloyd Sarbe, even though you didn't put the tefillin inside, right? Even if they're not yet actually wrap it, or Sarbe, if we did wrap it, okay, so okay, let's stop. As money, if you prepared it, even though you didn't put it inside, you can't put coins in it. Because once you do hazmana, that's enough according to a buyer. Tarbe, if you used it, he hazmana and aim. If you made hazmana, yes, you cannot use it for anything else. You lo hazmin, not loy. But if you didn't say it's going to be for it, then you can use it for other things. Basically, according to a buyer, I don't care if you're using it or not. The only thing that matters is designation. According to Rava and Rav Chizda that we're seeing, it's not just, you need both. You need hazmana and the usage. Whereas according to Vaya, all you need is a designation. Okay, so from this Mishnah, it just seems to be going like Rava, it's not going like Abaya. So Tashma, Tom learned the following proof. Nefesh ibn Lashem Chai. You are building a tomb structure. You're building a tomb, right? An above ground structure for the dead. But the guy is alive, right? You're building while he's alive. Mutabana, it's permitted because he's alive. He's not dead. He can't become the dead until the dead is dead. So mutabana. But let's say he died, and now you made an extra row of stones while he was dead, but he's not yet inside. Aser behano. it becomes forbidden. Because why? You are doing it for the dead. Even though the dead's not inside, it becomes usher. Because what? Because it's hazmana. You prepared it now for the dead. Right? If you're preparing it while he's alive, nothing happens to it. But if you're preparing it when he's dead, even if you made one row, then it becomes just for the dead. And hazmana is something. Mara says, my skin. No, what's the case here? It's not that the dead's not in there. The Rama base, it's where the dead is already placed inside. Right? It's not only been designated, but it also was used. Right? So like Rava. The Gemara says, Ihachi. So if that's the case, me are you hoisef? Nami. Why have to tell me that he added an extra row of stones? Right? Once he's inside, as long as you did hazmana, and then you put him inside, according to Rava, that's good. Why do you need to say he did an extra row of tiles? Marshall is like tzricha avagav tiponye. Because this makes a difference if you empty out the body from there. Okay. If you emptied it out, but you added a row of stones when he was dead, right? Because remember, if you build it when he was alive, there's no designation for sure. Not he's alive; he doesn't become us. If you build it when he was dead, now there has mana, and then you put in the dead, right? So you have it while it's dead. So even if you emptied it, it remains usher because you designated while he was dead. So what could you do in this thing? You can remove that row of stones that was added when he was dead, and then the rest of it will become mutar. Because remember, the original building was built when he was alive, so there was no designation for the dead over there. Once he's dead, you added that row. So if you remove that row, then there's the rest of the structure would be permissible. Right. Okay, fine. So again, not really proof for Rava or Abaye from this case. Tashma, a chaytzav kever la'avid. Guy cuts out stones for his father, right? His father dying, he's cutting out stones to use. But then he finds a different place to bury him. He cannot use those stones ever again for himself. What's the reason? Must be that because he designated the stones for his father, then he can't use anywhere else. So his money seems to be something like a buyer. Mar says no, nothing to do with his money. Has to do with respect to the father. It's kibud af. You prepare something for the father, you don't go ahead and use it yourself. This also makes sense. Look at the end of the right. If someone cuts stones for his father, he bury him somewhere else, and raise that, like cover behind all the miss. You never use it for yourself. If you say it's because of covered avim, makes sense. And you say designation. You didn't build the grave yet. You didn't build the kever yet. You just got the stones out. When we say you're weaving the shrouds, are we saying that the fabric becomes designated for the dead? No. The shrouds become designated for the dead. The stones cannot become designated for the dead. The kever that you build can become designated for the dead. So just cutting the stones out has nothing to do with designation. Rather, the reason why the son can't use the stones that he cut for his father is because of kibud av, and not because that is designated for that specific dead person. So no proof from there either. So Tashma, come learn another proof. Kever chadosh mutar bahana. A new grave. Someone just made a grave, kever. Now, for no one in specific. Hitel boy nefel also bahana. You put inside a nefel, even a nefel. A nefel is a baby that's either stillborn, right? So now you buried him. Hittel boy nefel aser bana. Now it becomes aser bana. Hittel ain lo hittel life. You put it inside, it becomes aser bana. If you don't put it inside, then it doesn't come aser bana. So what do you see from here? That it's not designation. Rather, you got to put something inside for it to become aser. Morris says that's not the proof. It's not a proof to Rava that you have to actually do something. The truth is, even if you didn't place the baby inside, it can still become aser like a baya, designation alone. But why? What's this mission trying? What's this bright to come to teach us? Who didn't have a gavlo? That they do. Shimon Gamliel held that a neffel, if you put a neffel in the kever and then you take him out of the kever can be used again. Because a neffel doesn't, a stillborn doesn't grab the kever for himself. It doesn't like become his. Whereas this bride is trying to teach Nag B'Shmingal. But once you put it in, it belongs to the neffel. You can't use it for anyone else afterwards. So it's not coming to teach us about designation or not needing designation. That's not what this bride that was teaching us. So no proof again. So let's try again. Tashma. Okay, you're collecting a general collection for the dead, and then you have extra. You have all these dead people, and you bury all of them, and now you have extra money. So you can use it for other dead people. Motor Hamate Liyorsho. If you collect for this specific dead, then the extra money, you have to give it to his inheritors, his children. What's this case? The question is, how could you give it to his Yarshav, his descendants, if stuff for the dead belong only to the dead, then how are you going ahead and giving it to his children? What's the case? You collected it when he was alive. So if he was alive, he's not dead. Then there's no designation for the dead, so you can give it to his children. The Gemara says you cannot say that they collected the money when he was alive. It's not. We learned the Mishnah. If you're collecting a general collection for the dead and you have extra, you give it to the other dead. You can use it for other dead people. If you collect for this specific dead, then you give the extras to his descendants, his children, the inheritors, the ones who take his money. But make them stop. If you're collecting for generally for dead people, this is what it means. You have extra, you give it to other dead because you general collection. Gavul make zeh, but if you're collecting for this specific dead, zehu motar made to the arshab. This is what you give extra to his inheritors. So the question now is, you told me they collected when he was alive, but here the Mishnah is being explained. Gavul make zeh. You're collecting for this specific dead, so it means you're collecting while he's dead. So if you're collecting while he's dead, then you designated it for the dead. You shouldn't be able to give it. So the Gemara says l'tamech ema seifa. Then explain the end of this Mishnah, because the end of the brayta. Rameir holds don't use his money until the Yohanavi comes. Rabbi Natan says Yaseinu dimos al kivroi. No, go and use it to make his grave more nicer. Go sprinkle wine. Use it to sprinkle wine on his dead body. Use it for the dead. So right now we're confused to what's going on in this Mishnah. So our Gemara is going to tell us that really this Mishnah and Braita can be explained according to Abaya and can be explained according to Rava. Each one can explain it according to his understanding. So Abaya, who holds that designation is enough, and once you designate it, it belongs to that, what would he say? Abaya mitar setamei. Everyone agrees, all these rabbis in this Mishnah agree that the designation belongs to the dead, stays by the dead. You can't take it out. But rather, Tanakh comes over the Chazlei Tavis. The Tanakh comes says you can give it to the children. Says, why? Because when the dead takes whatever gets designated for the dead belongs to the dead, but that's only for the amount that the dead needs, right? The dead only needs X amount of money. Since you collected too much, so that part wasn't designated to the dead, so therefore it can be given to the Yarshav. What he didn't need doesn't become part of his. It's not considered designated for him. Therefore, it can go to inheritors. The mayor says, the mayor says, I don't know. Does extras belong to the dead? Does it not belong to the dead? I don't know if he needs extra money in the afterlife, right? Maybe he holds on to it. Maybe it's still designated. Maybe it's not. So therefore, don't do anything with the money. Keep it till the Yohanavi comes. If you're not the Davei Topis, the Vadei Topis. If Nazim says no, for sure it belongs to the dead. The dead wants to hold on to the money even afterwards. The designated and stays his. Therefore, go use it for his monument on his grave or for wine or whatever it is. Use it for the dead because once it's designated for the dead, even the surplus remains belonging to the dead. So the whole Mishnah Braita can be explained according to Abaya that Hazmana designation is a naf. Rav Mitaris, let's say, Rav will answer this Mishnah according to his understanding. Rav's understanding is the Kuli Ame Hazmana Lavnul. It's just designating does nothing. The Tana Kama Savar, Ki Bozule, Chule, Mochel, Zilsa, Gabe, Yorshin. You know, what's the whole reason? Because they cause disrespect to the dead by collecting funds for him. They're not paying for it. So the question is the dead Moichel, these people who caused this indignity, and does he want the extra money to go to them? Nothing to do with his money. It's not designated to the dead, but rather, is he Moichel them so they can get the rest of the money? The Tana comes over, yeah, he's Moichel them. The Rabbi Meir is in doubt whether the debt is forgiving them or not. Therefore, he says, don't touch the money. Let go of the head. But Nothing says no, the dead would not forgive them, and therefore he would not want them to have the extra money. Therefore, go use it to improve the improve the cover, or go and sprinkle some wine in front of the dead body. So each one can explain that Mishnah according to them. So again, no proof whether designation is sufficient or you actually need to designate and do something in order for it to be considered the debts. So let's see if we can bring another proof. Tashma. It's a very terrible tragedy case. Parents lose a child and they are throwing things at the dead body now, right? And we're telling people, go, whenever they're throwing, catch and bring it back to them. Don't let them make it for the dead. Don't let them designate it for the dead, because then it becomes wasted. You cannot use it and it has to go with the dead. It's to be buried. So go catch whatever they're throwing and bring it back to them. There must be that since they're designating it for the dead, that's why we're telling them to catch it. But right, then how does that help? If designation is significant, how could they save them? Once they've been thrown under the seas, they're designated. So Gemara says, you know why we're telling the people to save them? It's a whole different story. People are very much they're in a lot of pain. Maybe really designation is usually enough, but here, since they're in pain, we're saying they don't really mean it, therefore pull it and give it back to them. The Gemara says if that's true, that their pain is too much and therefore it's not considered a designation. That's what's taught in the Braita. If they're throwing it and it didn't touch the bed, then you're allowed to return it to them. If it touched the bed, you're not allowed. So what does this have to do? If you're telling me that there's no designation because they're all in a bad state of mind, then how can if it touches the bed, it makes a difference? Where it says, yeah, that's a whole different reason. Nothing to do with designation. We're talking about we're treating it as the shroud. If the clothing falls on the bed, we're going to say, oh, you got to leave it because you might confuse it with shrouds in the future, and you might say, oh, you can remove the clothing, you can remove the shrouds, and we don't want that to happen. Therefore, if the clothing touches the bed, it has to stay there. So that's why we say it's not designation, but rather has to do with confusing it for shrouds in the future. Again, no proof to Abai or Rava. No proof either way of whether designation is sufficient or you need designation and a Maisa and something done. So Tashma, come learn another proof. So we already saw this, but let's look at it again. Guy made a bag to hold his tefillin. You're not allowed to put money inside. If you put tefillin inside, it wasn't done with hazmona. It wasn't done to prepare for tefillin, but rather you just put tefillin inside. Then you can put inside money, right? If you made it for the tefillin, then you're not allowed to put money in. If you just made it and then you just put tefillin in it, then you're allowed to put money inside it. So what do we see here? The designation is good, because if he designated it, then you can't put money inside. No. When it's the writer was saying that, it's talking about aso, he designated to make it for tefillin bag, and he placed it, like Rav Chizda and Rava. Because Rav Chizda, like Rav Chizda, So maybe this Braita is not talking about just Hazmana, but rather you designate it and then you placed it inside, which is Rav and Rav Chizda. Let's try another place. Tashma or Meluma, you say to the craftsman, Aseli Tikshel Saver, make me a case for the Saver Torah, or not Tikshel Tefillin, or make me a bag for the Tefillin, or a case for Tefillin. As long as they were not used for the Kodesh item, a lot of use it for anything. And once you use it for the Kodesh, not allowed to use it for anything else. So what does he see? This goes like Rava. Designation is not enough. He said, make it for me for the Sefer Torah, the case. And then he said, unless you put the Sefer Torah inside, it doesn't become Kodesh. You can use it for other things. So you need both. Designation is not enough. Like Rava, not like Abaya. Where it says, actually, Tanoim. Actually, Machlok is Tanoim. Abaya and Rava, their Machlok is actually also Machlok in earlier time period, the Tanoim dispute, the Tanya. Tzipon Zav, you coated the tefillin with a layer of gold. Osha Talain, or Shal Behemoth Tamea, or he put on it the hide of an unkosher animal, psula. It's going to be pasul. Or Behemoth Tahara, Kesherot. Av Vishaloi Dam Lishman. But if you put kosher stuff, it'll be kosher even if he didn't do it for the purpose of tefillin. I'm showing a meal, Av or Behemoth Tahara Psalit. Archie Bersharul Lishman. Even if you put kosher stuff, it's not kosher until you do it lishma. So you see, according to Gamliel, you need to do both. You need to prepare it for tefillin and use it. Just preparing it is not enough. Just doing it is not enough. You need to have both. So you do have this machloket tanaim. So I'm going to be Rava. Miika duchta de Rama mate. Okay, back in that question, they said they were weaving it for the dead. Do you ever have a case where you're weaving it for the dead? If you argue begging the maid, there's ever a time where you put the dead on the side and say, okay, I got to make you a new clothing. Usually you already have the shrouds and you buy them, you put them on. Amarle, Rebbe says, and yes, there's an example. Go in made the Harpanya. There's this place called Harpanya. Very poor people. They didn't have money to make shroud. If someone died, they would make a collection and they would quickly make out of cheap material a cheap shroud. So there could be a case where you weave it upon the death of a person. Darish Mememar, Hilchata Kivete Dabai. Gemara wants to say the halacha is like Abaya. This designation is enough. That's what Mememar wants to say. Rabbanan and the rabbis say no. Hilchata Kivete the Rava. Halacha is like Rava. The Gemara concludes Hilchata Kivete the Rava. The halacha is like Rava. That's why the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch brings it down. The halacha is like Rava and Rav Chizda, which means, for example, if I have this and I say, this is going to be for me a tefillin bag, and then I go ahead and I put my tefillin in, then I'm never allowed to use this bag for anything else. Only for tefillin. You're not allowed to put in tzedakah money in there. But if I said it's going to be a tefillin bag, but I never put tefillin in, then you can use it for tzedakah. Or if I didn't say anything, and I just put tefillin in there, and then you can also put money inside there. The best way to do it is if you know you want to put tzedakah into your tefillin bag, you can say, this is my tefillin bag, but on condition I'll also be able to put in tzedakah. You make it tonight, and that would be fine. But if you say, it's my tefillin bag, this is my tefillin bag, and you put in tefillin, then you're not allowed to use it for anything else, because then you had hazmana, you did designation, and you used it. And that's the halacha l'maaseh. And we will end here for today. Any questions we'll take at this time?
Yes.
Sure.